Last week, I finished one of the most famous courses on the internet, learning how to learn powerful mental tools to help you master tough subjects. I've took the course before in high school, but I decided to take it again to refresh my knowledge, and I've took notes this time. I'm absolutely certain to say that this is the most important online MOOC on the planet. Everybody should take this course. Learning is not an exclusive activity for students. Today's world is pushing us all to be lifelong learners. Our environments are constantly changing. You have to be acquiring new knowledge and skills consistently to keep up with the needs and issues of our modern life. If you can't learn efficiently, you will be left behind. A disclaimer before we start. This is not a substitute for the course. This video is just to give you the main gist and motivate you to take the course on your own. There's two modes of thinking, focused and diffused mode. Focused mode is the kind of thinking you do when you concentrate on a specific task, problem, or concept and dismiss everything else. On the other hand, diffuse mode is more of a relaxed mode of thinking, where you see the bigger picture and the relationship between thoughts. Both modes helps us learn. That's why you need to keep switching back and forth between the two modes. The way to get into the diffuse mode is by taking a break. Do something that doesn't require focus, like taking a nap or going for a walk. When you are faced with an unpleasant task, your brain activates the insular cortex that is responsible for releasing pain. So you switch to a more pleasant task like scrolling on social media to get a rush of dopamine and feel happy for a second. Procrastination shares features with addiction. It offers temporary excitement and relief from sometimes boring reality. The solution is tomatoes. The Pomodoro technique minimizes the pain because you only need to concentrate for 25 minutes, then take a break to do something more pleasant. Another solution is to make the process enjoyable, so you are more happy to do the work. Process over product. Focus on the process, enjoy it. If you can do that, you will remove that pressure that causes procrastination because you are in the middle of something you already enjoy. So there is no need to do something else, aka procrastinate. And it's okay to feel bad or have negative feelings and not being motivated before doing the work you have to do. Just resist that and you will get into the feel-good part. That's the trick. You need to just get over this first ugly part and try not to think or respond to those negative thoughts at the beginning. There's two major memory systems. Long-term memory, it's like a database or warehouse where information is stored for the long term. Working memory deals with what you immediately and consciously processing. The working memory can hold only 4 chunks of information. It's like a blackboard where you wrote things down, but you don't expect them to stay forever there. Our goal is to move what we are learning to the long-term memory. To achieve that, there is a set of learning tools you can use. We will discuss this in a minute. You are not the same person you were after a night's sleep or even a nap. It is if you went to bed with one brain and wake up with an upgrade. Shakespeare in Macbeth said, "Sleep that knits up the revealed sleeve of care, the debt of each day's life, sore labor's bath, balm of hurt minds, great nature's second course, chief nourisher, and life's feast." If you didn't understand what our friend Shakespeare said, like me, pause the video and read this explanation. Just plain being awake creates toxic products in your brain. But when you sleep, your brain cells shrink, which causes an increase in the space between your brain cells. It's like unblocking a stream, fluid can flow past these cells and wash the toxins out. Also, it seems that during sleep, your brain tidies up ideas and concepts you're thinking about and learning. It urges the less important parts of memory and simultaneously strengthens areas that you need or want to remember. Another benefit is that the complete deactivation of the conscious you and the prefrontal cortex at the forefront of your brain helps other areas of your brain start talking more easily to one another, allowing them to put together the neural solution to your learning task while you are sleeping. So sleep, which can sometimes seem like such a waste of time, is actually your brain's way of keeping itself clean and healthy. Exercise is by far more effective than any drug on the market today to help you learn better. Exercise increases the number of new neurons that are being born and survive, and it is a great activity for getting your brain into diffuse mode of thinking. For example, Kate Devlin, a British mathematician, whenever he got stuck on a problem, he'd go for a run or cycle. By doing that, he gets into a diffuse mode, which allows his brain to do its work. After coming back from running or cycling, he finds a solution to the problem he was trying to solve. Analogies and metaphors are great learning tools you can use to make a new concept familiar based on something you already know or understand. By looking for similarities between what you're learning and something you already know, you can make the concept more familiar and memorable, and the learning process overall fun. Chunking is the process of connecting scattered information together through meaning. It's like compressing a computer file into a zip file. A chunk is a network of neurons that are used to firing together so you can think up thoughts or perform an action smoothly and effectively. For example, in learning a sport, say basketball, soccer, or golf, you grasp and master various bits and pieces of skills you need. You're creating little neural mini chunks that you can then gradually knit together into larger neural chunks. Later, you can knit those larger chunks into still larger and more complex chunks that you can draw up into an instance in a reaction, say to a slight shift and twist in the soccer ball that's coming your way. You can apply this idea of chunking into really anything you want to learn and master. Programming, writing, music, languages, anything, just focus on mastering one chunk and grow that little block into more larger and complex chunk. Chunks can also help you understand new concepts. This is because when you grasp one chunk, you will find that this chunk can be related in surprising way to similar chunks, not only in that field but also in very different fields. This idea is called transfer. For example, concepts and problem-solving method you learned for physics can be very similar to concepts in business. The first principle is that you must not fool yourself, and you are the easiest person to fool. Richard Feynman. Rereading notes is the most common technique for studying, but it's not the most effective. Rereading your highlights or notes creates illusion of competence. You fool yourself into thinking that you know and understand what you're reading, but once you close the book or ask about the material in a situation where you don't have your notes, you find out the truth. You know nothing, Jones know. A better learning technique is active recall, where you try to recall the information you learned from your brain instead of rereading the content passively. Another evidence-based technique is spaced repetition, a method of reviewing material at systematic intervals, which is an alternative to cramming, another famous but not so useful technique students commonly use. It doesn't work because simply you don't allow the time for your brain to store the information you've learned. You simply cannot rush the process. A great way to integrate these techniques into your learning/studying process is by using a famous flashcard app called Anki. I've used it last semester and it's a game changer. And the best thing, it's completely free. Learning, growth, and mastery comes from doing the hard stuff. Avoid overlearning the easy parts and getting into the illusion of competence. Figure out what you find hard to do and focus on that. Science progresses one funeral at a time, as people entrenched in the old ways of looking at things die off. This is called the Einstellung effect, which occurs when our existing knowledge or habitual ways of thinking influence our problem-solving approach. When faced with a new problem, instead of considering fresh approaches, your mind tends to default to the familiar, potentially hindering your ability to find more effective solutions. Philosopher of science Thomas Kuhn discovered that most paradigm shifts in science are brought about either young people or people who were originally trained in a different discipline. They're not so easily trapped by Einstellung. Most of us are not famous scientists, but we can use this to help us become better learners. Developing expertise in several fields means you can bring very new ideas from one field to the other. Interleaving is another technique that will help you accomplish that. When you interleave between several subjects or disciplines, you can more easily make interesting new connections between chunks in different fields, which can enhance your creativity even further. Of course, you don't have to interleave between different fields. You can do it also within one field or subject by studying different aspects together. Our ancestors never needed a vast memory for names or numbers, but they did need a memory for how to get back home from the 3-day deer hunt or for the location of those plump blueberries on the rocky slopes to the south of the camp. These evolutionary needs helped lock in a superior where things are and how they look memory system. Part of the reason an image is so important to memory is that images connect directly to your right brain's visual spatial centers. The image helps you encapsulate a seemingly hard to remember concept by tapping into visual areas with enhanced memory abilities. And that's where the memory palace technique can help you. A technique that associates items or topics with locations within a room, route, or other specific location. For example, you can link a definition you want to learn with the image of Phoebe playing a song in Central Park. Another memorization technique is mnemonics. Simply, it's a pattern of letters, ideas, or associations that assist in remembering something. For example, Richard of York gave battle in vain for the colors of the spectrum: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Handwriting helps you to more deeply encode that is converting to neural memory structures that what you're trying to learn. Take a first look at all the questions. Start with the hard problems or questions. Once you get stuck, move to easier problems to turn on that diffuse mode. Double check your answers before you give the final answer. If you get stressed, here are some tactics you can use to distress yourself. The story you tell yourself about why you're stressed makes all the difference. Shift your thinking from "this test has made me afraid" to "this test has got me excited to do my best." Another good tip for panicky test takers is momentarily turn your attention to your breathing. Relax your stomach and place your hand on it and slowly draw a deep breath. Another tactic is to have a plan B. Think of the other alternatives you have, other options you can take in. Have a broader view in life, don't have a firm grip on that one thing. Again, this video is just the tip of the iceberg. Bookmark the course and start learning. Take notes along the way. Think of how you can apply the lessons you will learn and the tools you will discover into your learning and studying projects.